Episode of The Echo. I'm Jared, and I'm joined today by Irene, and I cannot pronounce your last name to save my life.
Most people cannot pronounce my last name. It's TenEyck.
TenEyck?
TenEyck.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Meant to ask you before we went live, and I totally forgot.
So it is a Dutch name,
Mhm.
and it means at the oak.
That's way fancier than my name.
It's sort of a tidbit that I learned a few years ago. So
No, that's awesome. The only announcement we have is we still need help during all of our worship services. You know, ushers, worship coordinators, communion servers, tech people to help me out. Altar ministry. So you could sign up on the board in the Narthex or sign up on the ELC's website. Alrighty, now we can just get right to the questions.
okay.
Let's start off. Let's just start off with something simple. Just introduce yourself a bit. A little introduction.
All right, sounds good. So my name is Irene TenEyck, and I am the Director of Caring Ministries here at English Lutheran Church, and I am half-time, so I work up to 20 hours a week. I am married to my husband, Brian, and we will be celebrating our 10th anniversary in May.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We live here in La Crosse. I have two adult daughters, one of whom lives here in La Crosse with her husband and has blessed me with 3 little grandbabies who I adore, and they are 5 and under. So I am very busy when they come over and spend time with me. Let's see, what else? I have been here in my position. It'll be 3 years this June, if I am remembering correctly. Brian and I have a 4-year-old golden retriever who we've had for 1 year. And we have a really fat, sassy 12-year-old cat that is not appreciative of the golden
What
at
are their
all.
names?
Their names, so our golden, his name is Honey Whiskey, and we call him Whiskey. And our cat is Callie Bean, and we call her Callie.
That is adorable.
Yeah. So that's our household.
All right. Is there any hobbies that you have? Maybe stuff you like to do in your downtime.
Downtime.
When you're not working.
When I'm not working, okay. I might want to mention all of the other jobs I have besides my one here at English Lutheran. At some point, unless that was one of your
questions.
questions.
That's a bit further down.
Okay, well then I'm not going to launch into that right now. But so suffice it to say that I don't have a lot of downtime. But when I do, my husband and I have 40 acres of beautiful land out between Cashton and Sparta, out by Malvina, and it's bluffs and trails and forests. And we have a very tiny, completely off-grid cabin that we stay at, and so I spend a lot of time there whenever I can. I like to read. I'm part of a ladies' book group, so we have a lot of reading great books, love to read. I like to go camping, so we tent camp, and that is always great fun. I spend time with my grandbabies. So yeah, those are pretty much the things I like to do.
Have you been in Wisconsin your whole life, or?
I have not.
Okay.
I am a Minnesota girl,
Oh.
born and raised. I was actually born in Shakopee, Minnesota, and the majority of my family actually still lives in Shakopee. And that's where I grew up. And after I got married, moved around to some different parts and places, mostly in Minnesota. Lived in Alaska for a little bit of time, and then came down to La Crescent in 2003, and then actually to attend Viterbo was one of the reasons I came here, and then I came over to La Crosse in about 2010, and so I've just lived here that long.
That's way more interesting than any story I got about moving. I'd say, okay, so now back to what you brought up earlier. I'd say, what is your current job and/or jobs that you do?
Or jobs.
And/or jobs.
And/or jobs. Okay, so by trade, I am a social worker. I have my master's in social work. When I moved to La Crosse in 2003, I had about 3 years of college to finish to get my bachelor's, and I did that at Viterbo. And then about 2 years later, I decided to get my master's, so I did a part-time program for that. So I worked 11 years as a social worker at Gunderson, and I actually still work as a social worker at Gunderson in the emergency room, and I do that 2 shifts a month and on call. And then I decided that I would take a year or a unit of CPE, which is clinical pastoral education. I did that at Gunderson, and I graduated from that unit 2 years ago. And I decided to stay on as an affiliate chaplain. So I do 2 overnights a month and on call as an affiliate chaplain at Gunderson. And when I got my master's in social work, I started teaching at Viterbo, so I'm an adjunct at Viterbo as well. And I haven't taught this semester or last semester, but for a while I taught pretty much full time in there. So I've got those things going on, and yeah.
I mean, these last 2 years must have made your life pretty hectic.
It's been a little crazy. It has. I was still teaching close to full time when I was doing my extended unit CPE, and I had, I think, already started working here. So, yeah, it was a little crazy for a while there, but I love everything I do, so it's all good.
Fair point. Now, what would you say, how do I phrase this? What would you say a driving force for you is?
The driving force for me.
Yeah.
A driving force for me is doing things that I love to do. So, like, I don't ever get motivated by, like, working for, like, pay. I mean, it's nice to get paid for work, right? But it's not the thing that makes me choose what I do. I choose what I do because I feel like it's something that fills me and that is things that I believe strongly in. So, for example, social work isn't always the highest paid career, but I am just a very strong social justice warrior, so to speak. And so social justice issues are very, very important to me. So that is very much driving me. And then when I started moving into doing spiritual care, that became something also that took some years to evolve into that, or to come to the place where I think I really need to be doing that. And now that I'm doing it, it is very much a driving force. So I think caring for people is important to me.
No, those are all good reasons, and especially with all the social justice issues we've been having in this country and, around the world right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, that's great.
Yeah.
So, I mean, was it just because you're more religious, or what brought you to English Lutheran specifically, I guess?
What brought me here? That's a really good question. So I belonged to my home church up in Shakopee, which I had belonged to literally all my life. After I had kids, I lived there. So I had this huge church family community, and my entire family went to that church. When I moved out of Shakopee, I had a really hard time attending church, to be honest with you, because I felt really lonely, because I didn't have all my church community and my family. I mean, literally, like Sunday mornings was a family reunion. My brothers and their family, my mom, everybody, and we all attended the same church. So, we'd take up a couple of rows, lots of babies and children involved. So that was really hard for me. So when I moved down to this area, it took me a very long time to find a church that I could walk into and feel really happy in a service and not feel really sad and uncomfortable, right, and lonely. So actually, after Brian and I got married, we started looking around for a church, and he's Methodist. And so we did join a Methodist church for a few years here in town. And then I got this feeling like I needed to get back to my Lutheran roots. And I've heard really good things about English, and so I joined here first as a member, and then later on came on as a staff.
Yeah, I would say like my first impressions of this place were totally wrong when I came here. Because I mean, yeah, like I brought it up before, but yeah, people think mostly of conservative ways when they think of any type of church.
Right.
And this place is just so progressive on a lot of things,
Yes.
which makes it such a breath of fresh air to work here.
Yes, it is. And that is one of the things that I feel so strongly about with English. And the more I became involved and then came on as staff, and I'm the liaison, the staff liaison to the Ministry Council, which is just an incredible group of people on that council, really with an eye to strong social justice work. So that and the openness of our church to all people and really meaning it is really, really important to me. So I just feel I feel like that I could not be in a church that doesn't do that.
I
right?
actually completely agree with you on that one.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's see here. Alrighty. So, actually, you might have answered this, but I don't know if I caught it. How long have you been like a member of this church specifically?
So as far as being a member, I think it was, I want to say February of this year. So we visited for a few months before I became a member. So I think it was like February. It was like 3 years or something as a member, and then and 2 years, or will it be 3 now that I came on staff? Anyway, so so not that long, but I was born and raised Lutheran all of my life. Actually started out Missouri Synod Lutheran because that was the church that my mom, my grandmother, and my mother belonged to. And so that's when I started, but transitioned to ELCA somewhere in my teens.
Well, alrighty. So the next questions are a bit more lighthearted.
Okay.
So something really simple to start off.
Okay.
What type of music do you like?
What kind of music do I like? I can tell you what I don't like more than what I can tell you what I like.
Well, let's start off with what you don't like.
What I don't like. I don't like I'm not into like hard rock or just like the hard, I don't know, it kind of makes my teeth hurt. So I love like folk music. I love jazz. I love, oh gosh, I love what we used to call when I was growing up, old time music, because I grew up with it, like polkas and waltzes. Because I like to dance to those things too. But I like, I like a little bit of the easier. I love like Peter, Paul, and Mary, like 70s stuff. I am a hippie at heart. I am a hippie, so all of that music really speaks to me. And so that's 60s and 70s is the music that I actually go to a lot. So, yeah.
Fair enough. It was a great era for music.
It was a great era for a lot of things, especially music.
All right. Well, I guess to kind of get at that, do you have a favorite band or bands to go with that, or are you just in general?
No, just in general, I guess. Those are the kinds of music that I just really enjoy listening to. So, yeah.
Nope, fair enough. I couldn't list a favorite band of mine if I wanted to, probably.
Yeah.
So I guess next, to keep it in entertainment, I guess do you have any movies or TV shows that you're fond of or favorites or anything like that?
It's interesting because I'm not much about movies and TV shows and stuff. I mean, there are some that, I might kind of start watching and kind of get hooked into for a while. But nothing that really like jumps forward for me, just because I don't spend a lot of time watching movies or TV shows.
I mean, that's fair. It doesn't have to be anything modern. I just meant in general.
In general, yeah, I mean, I love some of the old favorite musicals. I love like for shows, I love musicals like Sound of Music and Phantom of the Opera.
Both fantastic.
And shows like that. Love musicals, and so like to go to those or watch those.
No, my mom loves musicals, so I saw a lot of them.
Yeah. So
Including
they
the
are fun.
4-hour, what is it? His Sound of Music, 4 hours, I think.
There are some long ones out there.
It's really good though, but it's just long.
Yeah. So I do like those. My husband and I, we never watched like West Wing, and for some reason, all of a sudden, we started watching it. So that's probably the one that we sit down that we've been, following all the seasons. And I know people watched it ages ago, but it is interesting if you watch it now how many things are still being dealt with. That it's kind of like, oh my gosh, that was how many years ago this show was on, and we're still dealing with this stuff. So that's kind of interesting, but otherwise, I just sometimes I'll pick up something on Netflix here or there or whatever. But
No, that's totally fair.
yeah.
So I guess the next one, which I've gotten very answers on, is favorite book
Favorite book
or book series.
or book series. I just read a book called Cloud Cuckoo Land. Unusual title.
That's a very interesting name.
It is a very interesting name, and I wasn't sure I would like it. It takes a little bit to get into, but it was recommended by one of the gals in my book group, and it's good. I just finished it. It's a thick book. It's a big book, and you have to really follow it, and it jumps between different stories, different people, and even different eras of time, everything from back in Constantinople up to futuristic kind of stuff. But it's all got common threads all the way through it. It was really fantastic. So I would definitely recommend that.
That sounds really interesting. That actually made me think of a different book. You ever heard of a book called Cloud Atlas? It's kind of what it reminded me of.
No, I haven't.
But going through multiple different time frames kind of made me think of that. But there's a through line that kind of connects everything.
Oh, interesting.
That actually might be a good read if you are looking for something.
Okay, yeah. No, my book club has actually a pretty good list of really excellent books that we've read. So really just finished that one, and so I've got a couple more on my shelf that my girlfriend loaned me that I'm going to have to start on one of those pretty soon.
No, fair. Alrighty. Next up, I guess, what is favorite football team?
My favorite what?
Favorite football team, if you have
Football team?
Or do you not watch football?
I do watch football, but honestly, my favorite sport is hockey.
Hockey's awesome, so go with
Hockey.
hockey. Let's
Minnesota
go with hockey.
Wild all the way.
Really?
Yeah, Minnesota Wild. They're my team. But obviously, since I grew up in Minnesota, football's going to have to be the Vikings.
I mean, it doesn't have to be. You could the Buccaneers even if you want.
Yeah, no. But the interesting thing is that my husband was born and raised in La Crosse. So we have a mixed marriage. We are Packer Vikings. He's Packer, I'm Vikings. So we tend to dress each in our own gear and go out, particularly when the Packers and Vikings are playing each other. We actually have a great big, kind of like a great big flag that's half Packers and half Vikings that says House Divided, and we hang that out in front of our house. So so it's always interesting, but we can root for the other person's team sometimes.
What a compromise.
It's sort of a compromise, yeah.
Oh, man. Alrighty, and we have just been blowing through these.
Okay. Here, and I thought I was giving you really long, extensive answers.
Everyone was telling me it was going to be super long. Everyone's like, oh,
they told you it was going to be super long.
Yeah, they were like, oh, she's just going to go on.
Oh. Okay, I want names.
I'll tell
I
you
want to know
after.
who said that.
Alrighty,
But they're
'cause
probably right. Yeah.
no, it's all good. Because we're already on to the one of the final questions. The big final question is
Sure.
now a question about the future. What would is there a direction you would like to see the church take, like this specific one, like English Lutheran, and is there long term, and then is there anything like more short term that you'd want to see, like more immediate future?
Sure. So obviously, with the interest in social justice, I would like to see us continue to grow that. This past year, we became partners with Hope Restores, which is just an amazing organization here in La Crosse that lifts up our African American brothers and sisters. And so that was just a really wonderful and incredible partnership. And I continue to try to look for those kinds of partnerships with other community groups and organizations. So that can, include both short-term and long-term type goals. For example, with our partnership with Hope Restores, we are starting to get involved in a lot more things as a church. For example, we had a number of our church members attend the White Privilege Symposium and English Lutheran. We had a table there with all of our information that people could come by and learn about our church. Those kinds of things. The Ministry Council, we will be planning on having a table, sponsoring a table at the Juneteenth celebration in June. That's going to be coming up here in La Crosse. So we're trying to really reach out, and again, some of those are short-term in the way that we can immediately look for things that are coming up and try to jump in and be helpful. For example, I'll give you another example. With our Afghan refugees at Fort McCoy, we did a collection both of money and of items, and we were overwhelmed with all the stuff and all the money that people donated to the Afghan refugees. And I went out to Fort McCoy and I spent an entire week volunteering there. And then after that, I went back like 3 more times for a single day and did that. But bringing that work and that information back into our church community and into the community at large, and talking about it and talking about the immigration issues and talking about our homeless communities. My husband and I ran a drop-in coffee shop for the homeless community here in La Crosse. We did that for 4 years, just as a volunteer type thing. We started up a coffee shop, ran it with volunteers. So very invested in the work with the folks that are living in homelessness, And so short-term and long-term, what can we do right now to help people that are in need when those things arise in our community? And then long-term, how do we keep those relationships going, and how do we keep working towards having equity and giving people the ability to have their voices heard, and bringing that again to our community for people to get involved in, and for people to take ownership of, and to feel passionate about it, because obviously I'm just a little bit passionate about those things. So for me, short-term, long-term, it's all about that, and so I see that as a big part. And also, I'm with my care ministry, I'm very, very involved with our services here to the elders in our congregation. And I feel very strongly that we need to keep connected with our elders. We need to be connected with the folks that might not be able to make it to church. We need to have care ministers that are out there doing those home visitations. We need to have people feel like, even if they can't attend, or if they're in the nursing home or assisted living, or just can't get out in the winter because of the weather, or don't drive anymore, whatever the reason is, we need them to still feel like they are part of our church community. So, we've done things like matching up youth with elders. and doing pen pal relationships, which has been just beautiful. And and getting our home visitation care ministers out there, and just so that is another piece that really resonates with me that I feel just we need to continue to build on.
I completely agree. That was incredible. That I completely agree with everything you said. I actually would have to say, if you worded it way more elegantly than I possibly could have, but if I had to say stuff I'd want to see in the future, I'd actually agree with you on all those topics.
Good.
Those are all very important.
They are.
And that is absolutely incredible that you are helping to make that happen.
Yeah, thank you. And I love it. I love every minute of it. It feeds me. It does. It gives me joy.
All right, and we actually do have a single question
Oh,
from
no.
the chat. I don't know how you're going to answer this, but
Okay.
This is all it says is, where have you seen God in your work?
Where have I seen God? Where haven't I seen God in my work? I love that question. I see God in everything. I mean, we put out a need to our congregation or to our community, and I see God in every person that responds to that need. Whether it's collecting food for Wafer, whether right now, I don't know the exact amount, but we have been able to raise a significant amount of money for Ukraine, for Lutheran World Relief. Things like that. I see God in all of the work that we're doing. I see God in all of the jobs that I do. I see God when I am working in the emergency room as a social worker and somebody comes in a trauma situation. I see God being there with them in that situation. I see God when I'm doing my chaplaincy work, in everything that happens, God is there. And it's amazing. In my care ministers that are out doing those visitations, in my new member care ministers that are making follow-up calls to our new members to say, hey, how do you find out your experience at English? How's it going for you? Those kinds of things. So I'm hoping that is what they were looking for, but I see it in everything. I see it in our staff every day. I work with the most amazing staff on earth. I really feel like that, honestly. I just can't say enough about being here and being on staff at this church, and the love and the support that's given me when I'm struggling with things. So I love that. So some situations are hard, and I see God in those really hard situations too, because He always finds a way for things to happen the way they should happen, even if it might not be the way we think they should happen. Yeah.
Well, I think I speak for the staff and probably the community as a whole. We are truly blessed to have you.
Thank you. That is very kind.
And I would like to thank everyone for tuning in, and especially thank you for giving us your time. So Feel free to tune in next week, and who we'll have on will be unveiled pretty soon. So thank you everyone for tuning in.